Welcome everyone to Just Ask Jerry. Today we'll be talking about bay leaves. My son and I were sorting these bay leaves and he was asking me a few questions, and because he was asking me those questions, he said, "Hey Ma, this would be a great idea to do a segment on bay leaves and tell people all about it." So here we are. I had these bay leaves in my cabinet for several years now. These are actually from Italy. Several years ago we had them and found them now, and I'm going to actually separate them. And as I was separating them, I was telling him that some of the things that you shouldn't do, like these are okay to use. You can definitely use all the broken ones that you want, but there's so much to know about bay leaves. So bay leaves actually come from Europe and parts of Asia, and I also know that they are grown in California as well. Every place that a spice is grown gives you different attributes of flavor. These are pretty flavorful. They're not as pungent as some other ones, but for today what I'm doing is see, like, these are the ones that are perfect. They're great, and you can just put them in here. So these are great. They're whole, and they don't have to be whole, but like some of these broken ones, I'm not going to give them to people. Those I could use myself. And the reason why I was telling Vincent is because if you use them in cooking and you don't take them out, you can actually choke on them. You shouldn't be eating these after they're cooked. These are just to produce flavor. Bay leaves are grown as a bush and in different areas, like I said. They do not have a flavorful profile when they're fresh. They are better when they're dried. They're more useful when they're dried. So they're used in soups and stews, or you can also use them in different broths, fish broth or a beef broth or a chicken broth. After you're done with them and after they're cooked, you should always remove them from cooking before you actually use the dish or serve the dish. They are known also as laurel leaves. And so if you remember laurel crowns from years ago from the Greeks, they would award their athletes with a crown of laurel leaves, and that's where this comes from. They're not as soft as basil, so if you've used basil is soft. Of course, you're going to use that fresh or frozen, or dried, but dried basil really dissolves into your food. So that's okay, but the bay leaf, you will not get it in a powder form. At least I've never seen a powder form of bay leaf or a flaky form of bay leaves. They usually come... Oh, another thing about bay leaves. So these are a perfect size. Why are bay leaves so expensive? I know somebody's going to ask that. Why are bay leaves so expensive? A jar that's this size and a bay leaf that's this size, that's not going to fit in there. But this size will. So the reason why it's so expensive is they have to be selected and packaged individually. And that's, well, maybe not individually, but the point is that you have to have the right size bay leaf. So when you have to separate and grade them, grading by separation of size, colors, and also by origin, that makes the spice more expensive. And of course the packaging is also expensive. So that's why bay leaves tend to be expensive, and that's one of the reasons, at least. Okay, hope that you've enjoyed my episode on bay leaves, and maybe you've learned something. If you have any other questions about bay leaves, feel free to put it in the comment sections at Just Ask Jerry, and I'll be happy to respond. Thanks for listening.